Either we are there or not, ITSP Magazine still gets the best stories. There are plenty of conferences and all sorts of events that spark our curiosity and allow us to start conversations with some of the world's brightest minds. In person or virtually, we sit down with them at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Together, we discover what the synergy of these three elements means for the future of humanity. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Marco.
Sean.
It's a happy day.
It's a happy day. You know, Happy Days used to be one of my favorite shows growing up. The phones, exactly, yeah. Now we just dated ourselves.
I know.
Yeah, I did.
I know. Thanks very much.
Well, I invite everybody to go and rediscover that classic.
I guess I started us off in the Happy Days. No, but it's if you're a SOC analyst, you may say, where is it a happy day? Because there's some research that our good friends at Devo did, and Kayla Williams is on with us to help us talk a bit about that. Welcome, Kayla. Good to see you again.
Hello, gentlemen. It's lovely to see both of you again. I mean, I feel like I haven't talked to you in such a long time, but it's so good to see you.
Like
here we are.
Yesterday, 2 years ago or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think there are happy days, few and far between. We just need to understand a bit better what makes a happy day, how we experience it, how we can replicate that for more of them and across the industry. And I'm thrilled, and I'm sure Marco is as well, to be part of the third annual SOC Analyst Appreciation Day, hosted by Devo and others, and where we get to talk about that, right? And we get to bring analysts in and share stories and look at the future and look at what's going on. And a lot of this conversation today is going to be driven by research you did that I mentioned, Kayla, that kind of highlights some of the findings of what's going on and perhaps will give us some insight in how we move forward. So we're going to talk a bit about SOC Analyst Appreciation Day. We're going to talk about that report. But before we do that, let's talk about Kayla. I'm sure folks know who you are, but a brief intro for the new listeners who haven't listened to or seen you.
Yeah, I am Kayla Williams. I am the CISO at Devo Technology. I've been in this role for a little over a year and a half now. And I am a non-traditional CISO insofar as I came up the GRC track. So my background is something that is actually going to be discussed during SOC Analyst Appreciation Day, which is the next happy day for SOCs, analysts and teams. So I think that was a great little tie-in there, guys. I do love that. That's going to be on October 18th. My panel that I'm going to be moderating and having some discussion around is actually there's a role for everyone in security. And that is kind of based coming up the governance, risk, and compliance side. And you know, I think to kind of hark back onto the happy day piece, you know, I really feel that people that are in the SOC already, who are in security or who are thinking of moving into the field should really, you know, register SOCAnalystday.com, October 18th. I'll keep plugging that. And really, you know, tune in to learn about what this wonderful field has to offer. Yes, it's stressful, but that's why we have SOC Analyst Day.
Exactly. And I'm going to plug in with the Happy Days because, you know, Sean, maybe you were regretting to open with that, but I thought it was brilliant. It's one of those things that just came out and it works because the question may be what makes a happy day, even in a very stressful environment like the one can be when you're in the SOC. And I think, you know, the choice of the name Appreciation Day, it's very well thought. And I think I said that the first time because I feel appreciated because it's the third time that we are actually going to be moderating something there. We're part of this initiative, and I know that it's been doubling the audience from the first year to the second year. So right now we want to go even more than double. We want to just grow exponentially. That's why we're recording this with you to start with. So I want to ask you, what makes and happy day, on your opinion, on top of what I just said, to be appreciated? And what make a really bad day? Maybe we need to know that too.
I think what makes a really bad day needs to be acknowledged first, because that can lead into a solution to give you more happy days. I feel that it's really important to note that the research that you alluded to before that Devo has done, we found that 83% of IT security professionals admitted that they or someone in their department made errors because they're burnt out. And whether those errors led to like an operational incident or an actual security incident or breach, that can be downtime. That's dollars lost. That's fines. And also personally guilt and feeling horrible for doing something, if you made a mistake. I've made mistakes before. I know what that feels like. And I think the bad days are the burnout that's been driven by monotony of looking at the false positives and the alert fatigue and not being able to really focus on what might be considered value add for your organization from a risk perspective, not feeling fulfilled in your role. And again, not feeling appreciated, I think is a key point where there's just a big disconnect between what is actually happening boots on ground and up at the C-suite and in some cases at the board level as well, and not truly understanding what that feels like, being on the front lines there. But there are ways to get good days, and October 18th will be one, because we're going to celebrate all things SOC Analyst, and we're going to talk about ways to remediate some of that stress and anxiety that you may be feeling, focusing on mental health with Cyber Minds, which is a nonprofit that's been founded in Australia to deal particularly with cybersecurity team stress and burnout. How to get into the role if you've chosen security as your role after all the headlines and all the things that you've been reading lately. You should know you're coming into a very stress inducing field, and how to cope with that, and really how to better leverage your tool sets. How does AI fit into this? Can you automate those alerts? Devo has a wonderful opportunity to help teams with our platform by automating some of the false positives and the playbooks that you have, and cutting down on that doom scrolling through hundreds or thousands of alerts that these first line and second line SOC analysts deal with. And that helps to free up time to focus on more things that are relevant to the business and value add. So there is bad, but the silver lining is a great way to move into that happy day, if you will, which I'm leaning into it hard now, Sean. I'm loving it.
Yes, that makes me happy. Now, I think I want to maybe broaden this a bit before we get into more of the panels and discussions we'll have that day, and some more of the research. But one of the things that come to mind for me is, do we treat that team, those teams, those people differently compared to others in the organization? Have we as a security industry positioned ourselves as security professionals as capable? We're always a warrior, always fighting, and therefore we can handle it, and therefore we don't need the attention to overcome some of these challenges? Or is it SOC analysts are at a certain level and they don't get the attention, don't have a voice? And as a CISO, maybe can you share some thoughts on, do we recognize the challenge? Do we address it appropriately relative to the rest of the organization?
Whew, that is loaded. My goodness, if I had known, I would have.
We have 30 minutes, so just go for it.
That's not enough time. No, I think that's an absolutely fair question to ask of all CISOs, directors of security, CIOs, and even the executive team. People tend to look at the SOC as that front line. They are expected to, do the grunt work, the day in, the day out, and they don't always have the opportunity to communicate up what's going on. They rely on their directors to share those messages. And where I feel there has been an unfortunate oversight and across the security industry as a whole is that there is actually real value that can be, derived from those functions. If those teams, whether it's an analyst 1, 2, or 3, which tends to be more the SOC analyst level 3. But if you can start to bring in the business to say, this is my critical application, this is the critical data, this is what I expect, your SOC is going to perform better. If they're going to, all of a sudden, they're going to see those outliers, and they're going to be able to focus their attention on the true risk items that impact the business versus that monotony, the doom scrolling and things like that. So there is certainly a disconnect between what the SOC team is doing, what the business thinks they're doing. Like those memes that you used to see, right? Like what my mom thinks I'm doing, what my girlfriend thinks I'm doing, and whatever, right? That's very much the case here in the SOC. And like, it's like what I'm actually doing. And it's just like, someone scrolling through alerts. So I really do think there's an opportunity as a whole for our industry to reevaluate what those folks are doing, what they what should they be doing versus what they're doing, where the value is being derived, if any. Maybe there isn't, because you don't actually know what your alerts are. Maybe there's something that should be tweaked and have those tuning sessions done with the business. And that could be a year-long initiative that you do, and that will drive more value. And I do feel for the SOC teams out there, having worked in security for a long time in a few different industries, they are always tired. I mean, I think I am too, to be honest. They're always on edge, because if they miss something, that fiduciary responsibility, that guilt sometimes can sit on you, and that drives you to want to be glued to your phone and to your laptop and not getting up and moving around. And it's definitely time again for our Appreciation Day, right? It's every October, but it's certainly, after what we've seen of the past year with all the media announcements of breaches and things, like, yes, like there needs to be a shift in our industry for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, and I covered in different industries, but of course, mostly in cybersecurity, when you're like, if you don't know why you're doing something and you don't have that big picture, that, that my little thing, I'm thinking Adam Smith, I think that if you know why you're doing that particular thing, it's going to make you feel like valuable. And we go back to appreciate it as well. So it's easy to say when people do make mistakes, but I think we should get in the habit of also give prize when it's due, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
for the right thing, I was watching the U.S. Open, and they the tennis tournament, of course, for those that are watching. They zoomed in on Stan Smith, and they said, "Ooh, the shoe guy," right? Yeah, forget about his tennis career. He's the Adidas shoe guy. And so, knowing who you are and what you're for, and others knowing who you are and what you represent, is also important. So communicating so that you can be recognized and appreciated, I think, is also important.
Yeah. And in that light, maybe it will be good if we go over the sessions that we're going to have, because as you mentioned, there is some that are specific on mental health, but there are others about coming from different industries, and there is place for a place for everyone. So let's do that. I mean, what are you the most excited for? Unless you want to go through all of them.
What am I most excited for? I would have to say the mental health session with Peter from CyberMinds. I got to meet Peter at Black Hat about a month or so ago, and we've chatted back and forth a little bit since. And I just think he's just fantastic. I think the program is great. And, something that I think is not discussed enough is the mental health of people in our profession, and just people as a whole, but, focusing solely on security people. I spoke at Blue Team Con a couple weeks ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago by now, 4 weeks, I don't even know. What is time? And I got up and I did a talk about non-traditional roles, which dovetails into the session I'm doing. But I said in front of everybody, I'm like, people are burned out, and I'm on anxiety medication, and I am so anxious constantly being away from my computer. The first thing I do when I wake up is I grab my phone. What did I miss? What happened? Like that panic. But I just said it so nonchalantly because it's something that I have no problem admitting. And after the session, I had people come up to me and thank me for being so honest about the struggles, even at my level, and being able to acknowledge that you have to have empathy for people, because people process information in scenarios differently, and they just felt seen for the first time. So for me, the mental health hits close to home, and it's definitely something that I feel that more people need to be empathetic, that the people process things differently and handle situations in ways that mean something, but that's just what they do. So this session to me, I think, is a must see. And then of course, the other one is your session, the panel that you are, a day in the life of the SOC. Of course, got to plug that here.
We'll get there in a minute, but I want to stick with the one you were just talking about, because I think it's interesting that the first step is to discuss it, right? And perhaps when that happens, the natural reaction is to judge. Well, why does someone need that, or why are they doing that? And I feel it might be a fine line between judgment to understanding, and then really truly recognizing if there's a problem there, right? So turning the judgment into there's a sign for a call for help, perhaps. And I think so. I don't know if that's going to be discussed or not, but I'm sure there's a lot in that session to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. And, I think as line managers, we all have a responsibility in our day-to-day members. So I know I can speak to, employee X a certain way about certain things. I have certain expectations for them, but, employee Y, I maybe have to have a more delicate touch. There are certain topics that I know might set them off or upset them. And you can tell by reading body language. I think as a line manager, you know your employees, and you already kind of know just from your day-to-day interactions or your one-to-ones, how they act. Anyway, it's EQ, I think. And while I would never expect anyone on my team to tell me that they're depressed, they're anxious, they're on medication, I would never, ever have that expectation. As a line manager, I can tell, like, oh, this person gets uptight or upset or fidgety when I mention certain things, and you notice that and you make the mental note, and you try to steer clear from something that might make someone uncomfortable. And that's really how I try to operate.
Yep. And I know there's a CISO panel, CISOs in the hot seat, I think it's called. And I don't know if you have any insights on what they're going to be chatting about there. I mean, it's some cool names, some folks I know, certainly companies as well that people would recognize, and that is a hot seat that you sit in as well as they. So what are they going to be talking about?
That one's a little bit more closely guarded on what that full agenda looks like and what they're discussing. That I am looking forward to that one, because I know these folks as well. And I when you just talk to someone, you're like, are they going to say what I think they're going to say and things? So I'm actually kind of out of the loop on that one. But I'm hoping that they will discuss people management and how that kind of ties into the overall mental health of their teams. SOCs in a whole, and like incident management, I think there's a lot more that needs to be discussed, not just with their CISO, but with their executives from an understanding perspective. So I do hope that they tap into that. And I would love to understand how other teams are handling it across the industry. Maybe there's something I can learn as well, which is always something that I look forward to.
Yeah, I'm excited about the session with the AI. You kind of, I love how on the website, and people should go check it out, the SOC Analyst Day.com. That presentation start with AI exclamation point, because if you don't talk about that, you have to. And I'm excited. I mean, actually, David Bittner from the Cyberwire is going to moderate that one, and I want to know. And what is your take? Is it really making the day in the life of and then we'll talk about our session, but the day in the life is this new technology, generative AI in general, is it really going to make it easier, or we're hoping that it's going to make it easier?
I think it's going to make life easier, but I also think it's increased your threat landscape, right? I mean, CISOs can't say they cannot turn an eye. They can't just flat out ban it, right? Because I swear, every vendor we have, I've gotten emails, hey, we're releasing this new AI feature.
Which is written by an AI, by the way.
Yeah, right. It's like, how do I opt out of this? Is my data already in there? It becomes a bigger conversation. And us being SaaS organization, Devo, we offer it in our platform, as I mentioned before, as a way to automate your playbooks and to learn from your own data and do that piece. But also, I have people who are saying, hey, some of our vendors, we want to use this. Then it's like, okay, so now I have to write a policy and understand what data is, what processes are impacted. So I think as it matures as a whole, which is lightning speed, and more regulations come up and there's more guardrails put in place, it'll be a far more friendly technology for different industries to use. But I think it's fantastic. I do not use it in my day-to-day at work because it's not authorized. So please make sure if you're using it, it's authorized by your company. That's my disclaimer, please. No shadow AI, which is something I've written about. But it has to be used responsibly. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a question I'm going to close with, but I do want to touch on our panel. And as we noted at the beginning, I'm thrilled to be part of this for the third year in a row. We helped kick things off in the inaugural year, and we've only seen it grow. And I'm pleased to be part of this. And so we get the fortune, Marco, you and I get the fortune of hosting the day in the life of the SOC panel, which is really cool. We have JJ Davey on again, who we know.
Yep, we had it last year.
Yep, and a couple new folks on the panel, but folks we know as well, Jules Okafor and David Meese. And I think this is a chance for us to actually get in the minds of the analysts, talk about what they do, what they struggle with, how they turn to their peers for help, how they communicate with their managers. I'm guessing that all this stuff is in their head, kind of like the CISO, the CISO panel. I can envision what we're going to talk about, but at the end of the day, they're going to share what's on their mind and engage with each other as they trigger different things. Hey, I know that too, right? So it's going to be a good session. I always enjoy learning from that team. I've not been a SOC analyst, and I don't play one on TV, but they hold a seriously important part in the security program and the business overall. So I'm excited to have the insights from those three folks. Now, Marco, I had a question on one of the reports.
Go for it.
All right. So Kayla, because there was obviously a number of questions, you can look at them individually and kind of find individual points. I'm overworked. I don't like the menial tasks. I'm stressed. We don't have enough people. People are leaving. And all that, to me, there's a lot of stuff in the report. But then there's one that, to me, kind of sums it up, and that's, I'm done. Right? And only I think it was, if I did the reverse math, only 15% said that. Meaning people are in this role are looking for a way out. And the four options that are cited are changing roles within the department, leave the company, but stay in IT, stay at the company, but change the path, or leave altogether and get the heck out of this industry. So that's 85% looking for a way out or something different. 15 saying, yeah, I'm okay to keep going, and maybe not recognizing yet that they are struggling as well. So my point with that is, we want to appreciate and recognize the analyst, but I sure as heck hope everybody working with and surrounding and supporting and benefiting and being challenged by that role also join this day to understand what role they play in this TV show called Happy Days of the SOC. That they can learn from this group of panels and discussions that we're going to have that day. So I don't know, any thoughts on the stats and then anything else you want to add would be cool.
I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. I work it every day. I see it. The frustrations that are felt by, I think, security organizations as a whole, not being heard, not being taken seriously, being told, oh, well, that's just a risk. It hasn't come to fruition, so it doesn't matter. And then when something does come to fruition, they're blamed. The people, process, technologies not being in place, cross collaboration does not always happen as smoothly as one would like it to. My priorities aren't your priorities type of thing. And there's a lot that leads to stress and burnout and that unhappiness, and it needs to be addressed. And I hope that others, as you mentioned, Sean, do attend this and try to understand where that frustration and the people jumping ship are jumping for a reason. If you have that innate desire to be like a crime fighter in frontline, finding the bad guys and hunting and wanting to do the right thing, having that drive for integrity and change and things like that, for you to decide I'm done. There's always that like straw that broke the camel's back scenario that might be something really small in comparison to everything else that's happened, but you just reach that point. And I've seen it. I've talked to my friends about it. In their industries, their teams are struggling as well. So it's not just, in a particular part of the security industry. It's everywhere. And I do hope that people attend and take away something, whether it's for themselves to learn they're not alone and how to cope and how to reach out for help, or if they are a line manager or a peer of someone, or even if it's someone in your own family or friend that you're seeing that's also stressed out, and recognize that and offer that hand as well. Yep.
Good point. Yeah. The community is large, and not all of us are directly in cybersecurity. We're in IT, we're in risk, like very well. So I really do hope SOCAnalystday.com. Please go there, join us. The whole session, all the speakers, you can send it all or see it all there, and register to attend and be part of the conversation, be part of the solution, and help us recognize these hardworking folks that deserve to be appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yep. And just to quickly mention, maybe the only couple of sessions that we didn't mention is one about SOC hacks with John Hammond. CISOs in the
cool dude.
Exactly. Yeah. CISOs in the hot seat. We talked about that one. Mental health, transitioning from public to private sector. That sounds interesting too. Know a lot of people that have done that. I don't know how many have done the other way. I don't know. Do you know somebody did the other way around? Went from private to public?
I do. Yeah, a lot of people in CISA, all due to Jen Easterly, I'm sure.
Yes,
she does an amazing job.
She made it really cool, right?
Yes.
I mean, Brian did a good job too.
He did too.
And that's going to be the transition from public to private sector with Daryl Taylor, and then a day in the life in the SOC with us, AI and automation, and there is a seat for everyone in cyber with yours, Kyla, right here.
Yes.
That's going to be very exciting. Again, I think we have said enough. I think if you are in the industry, either you are in the SOC or not, you want to be part of this, because it's a teamwork, and we need to support each other in a way or in another. So if maybe other sector of the cybersecurity and niches they want an appreciation day, maybe we need to start talking about that. We need to appreciate everybody. So this is a good example. This is setting the example. We will see you then again on October 18th, and again SOCAnalystday.com will be there, and I think I will play Happy Days.
What does it be? A phrase from back in the day: be there or be square. Is that what it was?
Again, dating yourself, guys. Even for me, you're dating yourself.
I have no idea what you just said.
I don't know.
Got it.
Just got all my parts out. That's good.
Kyla, thank you so much. It was fun. It was great to see you again, and we're looking forward to this. Yeah, bye, everybody. Stay tuned.
See you there.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of our on-location conversation. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itsbmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.